Well, folks, welcome to the Go for Diamond call this evening. This evening's call is, as you can see, third-party credibility. If you are part of this training this evening, you actually do have access to visual, and the call is recorded. It will be posted within the hour after the call on the Go for Diamond call under the video section on the Go for Diamond call. I also wanted to remind you that there is a lot of events going on. A lot of associates are posting their events on the active team calendar. Do feel free to go there and see if you know anybody in the area. And often these events are open, and if they are, you will know because there's a phone number for you to be able to contact them and let them know that you're coming. And so do take advantage of that. This is all part of building your business, which in fact comes into the point of third-party credibility. Tammy and I have started some training series that we started since the beginning of the year, and I believe this is the 8th module, which is third-party credibility. Now, third-party credibility is absolutely critical for long-lasting and growth in your organization. The people that apply or utilize these activities will always get ahead, and that is a fact. The people who uses third-party credibility to welcome associates into their team, to help them validate or paint the big picture, share the vision, it never fails. They're always the people who get ahead. So tonight we want to talk about this training, and moving on to the next slide is what is third-party credibility? Why is it important? Well, as I stated, it is important because it will help you paint the bigger picture, especially if you're new in this business. If you don't exactly know how to go about getting someone excited about this opportunity, or if you're having a hard time getting into the business aspect, this is very important for you, because if all you do is talk about products, you'll be a starving associate. You can have the best product in the world, folks, but if the product does not distribute and does not duplicate in a distribution factor or model, you will not grow an organization that will give you the residual for you to be able to grow an income. If all you want to do is share these products, hey, listen, that's totally cool. But I know that most of you, I would say probably every one of you here, are looking for increasing your input financially. And that is a great way to go about it, but you can't be afraid of introducing the opportunity. And this is the reason why introducing a third party who is very comfortable bringing the opportunity in a very soft approach, but in a way that can get people to see the big picture, you will always get ahead. When to use it? Well, again, we'll talk about that, but it could be for you want to help someone to look at the product, you want to get someone to come into an event, you want to get someone to maybe sign up or get a package or get an auto-ship or whatever the situation, that's when, or simply welcome someone to the team. And how to use it, what you can see here, this is an example of an iPhone, but generally they're pretty much all the same, is when you're making your call, you'll notice that there's some icons. In this particular case, it's a plus sign. And then from there, when you click on that, you'll have access to your contact list. And then you select the person or simply dial in the number. And once you dial the number, the person who's listening in will get on hold. And the moment you click, you'll notice that the plus sign will change. It will become join call. And then at that point, you get the two calls together. So it's pretty straightforward. And I do recommend for you to practice, even with the service provider that you're utilizing. That is, again, will serve you well.
And just to add to that quickly, Chris, is on WhatsApp now, if you have a couple of people that you want to create a temporary group to connect a couple of people to do a call, that's possible now. You can do a call and add these people to the group and just get familiar with tools and learn what's available out there to help you build your business and not have the big expenses, especially when you're dealing with long distance. Yeah. So leverage as much as you can and learn from that.
Yeah, that's important. Just before we get to the next slide, Tammy, and this is very important, folks, today's technology makes it so cost effective to do your business. Tammy talked about WhatsApp. Facebook is the same. You can also create a message with a group of people, and you can dial them all in at the same time. WhatsApp obviously has been purchased by Facebook, so it makes total sense that they added that feature. So these are things that you should be utilizing to help you share the message within your organization or your prospects.
So why is third-party credibility important? And take a moment to write some of these things down, or if there's something that really resonates with you, take the time to write stuff down, because when you write things down, you learn a whole lot faster. It builds credibility, and that is what is necessary for people to see the bigger picture, to want to join you in business. Okay, you're bringing somebody into the conversation that's going to validate the information you've already sent them. So it brings a whole lot of credibility to the table. And they don't have to be crown diamond leaders or diamond leaders. A lot of people think you need to do three-way calls with people who are really, really high up in the company. And most people that we connect with, it's not even necessary to have big leaders. So what I like to do when I do three-way calls, when I bring credibility in, I think of connection more than status. I'm going to bring somebody into the conversation that I know that's going to connect well, that has a great story that is going to impact that person to make a decision. So think about that when you're setting up three-way calls. Number two, connects your prospects to something bigger. And again, they're going to validate it, and with their posture and their stories, they're going to bring the picture much bigger to the person that's evaluating. Number three, it builds relationships. We are in a relationship business, and the more you do these calls, these three-way calls, the more you do the follow-up calls, the stronger your relationships become. And the more connected and the stronger your relationships, the easier it is for people to make a decision to say yes and not be so resistant. And that, really it takes practice. Chris and I have been doing follow-up calls and third-party validating calls for many years, and we still do it today. And the reason why we still do it, we don't need to do it, because we can bring people in easily with all the practice that we've done over the years. It's because it's the system, and we teach people while we're prospecting how to actually do the system. Okay, so it's important to be doing these. Number four, it's cost effective, which is critical. Time effective, especially for the ladies. You don't have to get all dolled up to go out, to meet people and to do the calls. So you can do this from home. Most of the time, Chris and I are in our pajamas building our business when we're not out in public. And number six is business building while being trained. The best part of being trained is to do it live, you guys. Is to set up those three-way calls with one of the leaders, somebody that that's going to connect with that person, and learn from the conversations on how they're making those connections. Okay? Validation of you. So, for example, the moment you bring a leader or somebody else into the call, they're going to validate you back to your prospect to make you sound bigger than, what the prospect knows of you at that moment. So it's critical. And number 8 is to move a prospect to the next step. That's the goal in the whole process. The next step could be they're ready to sign up. The next step, maybe they want some more information. The next step may be they need to try the products. They need to show up to an event. So it's to move people along in the why. Why you're doing these three-way calls, or third-party validation calls. And number 9, and I mentioned that a little bit earlier, it's the duplication factor. The more you have the system duplicated and third-party validation is in there, the more money you're going to make in this business. And we've proven it time and time again, not just with our success, but watching other people reach some serious pin ranks.
Absolutely. So when do we use the third-party credibility? As I stated earlier, is during a follow-up or closing. I don't like the word closing, but I want to be clear on what I am talking about here is when someone is at the point where they're on the fence, and you can't seem to get them off the fence. They can't seem to make that decision to pull that credit card and to go in, right? And there's sometimes you need to add those elements, right? And one of the things that can really help is when you speak to a prospect and you have no idea where they stand. These are great questions. One is, what did you like best about what you saw? Make sure that when you ask that question, pause and let them answer. Even if there's a bit of a quiet moment, right? Let them process, let them answer the question. If you always feel that you need to fill in the blank, then what's going to happen is you're probably going to take over again, and you're not giving them a chance to share. And this is often what I think happens, not what I think, I know happens when people are in the prospecting stages, right? They don't let the prospect share, right? They're too, well, there's many reasons, but often is that they want to make sure they're not going to miss them. They're going to try to get them to want to do what they want to do. And often, folks, people are looking for a better way to earn an income today. They're looking for another way to earn an income today. And I'm telling you, everybody is open. If they say they're not open, honestly, it's because they haven't built a relationship with you yet, or they haven't built a trust with the product, or understanding what the opportunity is all about. Number two is on a scale of 1 to 10, and be specific. Make them be very clear. Where 10 is the very highest and 1 not interested at all. Where do you see yourself? And this is a very good question, because if I get anywhere above a 7, I know there's an interest, a genuine interest. There's a possibility that at the least they're going to become a customer to try the product for a period of time, or they may just decide to become an associate, or they may just say, you know what, I'd like to attend one of your in-homes, one of your hotel meetings, whatever the situation is. Okay? So this is a great question. Anything below 7, it doesn't mean that they may not be a customer or may not want to get involved. It's just that it may require a bit more work, and it might also be an opportunity where you really need a third-party credibility, right? You can set a time with the prospect. Says, you know what? Let's set a time to call a few friends of mine that have been very, very successful in this business. They're traveling the world. I'm just giving you some example. Of course, you can use any kind of introduction based on who you will be introducing. But again, these are great questions for you to set the stage for a third-party credibility. Number 3, which I think we don't do this enough. I used to do this a lot when I started my business way back, is introduce your prospect to your mentor or leader as part of the follow-up process, right? Many of you used to do that at the beginning. Today, we haven't heard from you for sometimes years on these kind of introducing your prospect. Folks, this is really important. Make your prospect or your new associate feel welcome. And this is what we try to do in our groups as we welcome you into new associates into different groups. Very important to respond. Don't be too quiet and silent. Get involved. Let people know that they're welcome. This will make a huge difference in your business, and you might help someone else in your organization or anyone else that is part of these groups. So participate. Get involved. Don't just sit back dormant and waiting for someone else to do the answer for you. Get involved, right? So this is a great way. Introduce your prospect to your mentor, to your leader. Make them feel part of the process.
Yeah, it's important that you get them connected. The third-party validation, you want to make sure that they have a connection, because, again, it's all about relationships. And if they feel comfortable with the person that you bring to the phone call, then they're going to be very open. So it's to create that comfort for both parties. So how do you do this? So number 1, this is critical, you guys, because you got to start really practicing this. The more you do this, the better you become. So don't worry about not knowing what to do. So determine the purpose and the desired outcome for the conversation that you'd like to see based on what they've done up to now. So, for example, if you've sent them the why trade time for money video and the max science. So the purpose would be to follow up to see what they like best. Okay, maybe they've been to an event. So, you know, depending on where they're at, find out what the purpose is for that desired outcome that you'd like to see, and where they're at in the conversation. So maybe they're at the point where they want to try the product. Maybe they haven't been to an event yet. They want to come to an event. Maybe they've seen everything, and you're just following up with the leader to answer some of their questions before they make a decision. So the person that you're going to do the call with needs to know what that desired outcome is, okay? Because they have to be on the same page as you for them to do what they do best. Number 2 is to plan ahead for your third-party exposure. At a presentation, a one-on-one, a meeting, by phone, whatever it is, you want to plan ahead with the person that you want to connect with them. And you want to make sure that you brief that person, the mentor, or whoever it is that you're having for the phone call, on your prospect and the purpose and the desire of that outcome for that conversation. And really line this up, you guys. The more your third-party person that's going to help you out, leader, the more they know, the better the outcome that you're going to get. Okay, I know Chris and I, we're really busy, and people are out there catching people on the fly, and sometimes you guys can catch us on the fly. You guys know what I'm talking about, that do the 3-way calls with us. And, you know, sometimes the timing's not right. But, you know, you pick up the call, and you don't know anything about that person. So you're not going to get the same effect as if you would have something scheduled. Okay, so it's critical that you schedule stuff. Number 4 is, if you're doing a 3-way call, make sure you know how your technology works and that your phone is equipped with 3-way calling. So make sure you get to know your stuff. If you're new at this, don't be afraid of technology. Practice at the beginning. Practice with the person that you're doing the call with before you get on the call with the other person. Practice with an associate, a friend, whatever. Just practice, and you'll find that your calls will be a lot more effective when you're doing the calls with your leader.
Now, moving on to the how-tos, number 5 is third-party credibility. Obviously, can be done in person or by phone. But what I found that has made third-party credibility call very, very effective is with the proper edification. So, for example, you have a person who maybe have been successful in her career, whatever the situation. Maybe she's a mom, she's been a successful mother. I mean, you know what I mean. You know, there's situations that it's clear that you can utilize to edify your prospect. Of course, you also need to edify your leader. Obviously, I can tell the difference between an experienced associate and an associate who is a bit of an amateur. Because an experienced associate will really edify both parties, so both parties feel adequately kind of introduced. And you'll find that formalities goes on as far as I can remember. I mean, we're talking, you know, centuries ago. I mean, at the end of the day, it's very important to edify people when you introduce them together. And that's why we recommend that you always introduce your leader and your prospect. Maybe start with your prospect, edify them appropriately, and then edify the leader, right? And then from there, or it could be introducing the leader, and it really, the order doesn't matter. What matters is that both parties are properly edified. Okay, and then when you turn the conversation over to your mentor, it's also very important that you don't interrupt the conversation unless you feel it's absolutely necessary, because maybe something has been missed and it needs to be kind of brought up. But often when you cut into a conversation, you might really kind of get the person really off the target, what you're trying to get your prospect to do, and it gets things a whole lot complicated or difficult, or you may just lose the whole opportunity to get the person to go to the next step because there was just too much distraction instead of focusing on the target that was earlier mentioned when Tammy said, what's your target? What's your purpose for the call? Okay? And the thing that's also very important, and it sounds very simplistic, but I'm telling you, it makes a world of difference. Once you've done the formalities, the introduction of both parties, make sure that you tell the person, in this example, I recommend your mentor. Get your mentor to say hi or to welcome so-and-so, John, to the call, right? And the reason for this often is when both parties have been introduced, often it's like an awkward moment where who speaks first. And 90% of the time, both parties speak at the same time, and we kind of need to adjust and determine who's going to speak first. It just, again, takes away a little bit of the professionalism of a proper edification process in a third-party credibility call. So, again, when you finish the introductions and the formalities, simply say, hey, Chris or Tammy, or whoever the leader happens to be, could you please say hi? Why don't you say hi to Mary? Boom. Then we turn around, hi, Mary, how are you? And then the conversation begins that way and on a good note. So that's number 5. Number 6 is, again, is to close a conversation. Well, the goal of the mentor leader is to move your prospect to make a decision, as Tammy stated earlier, right? Or the next step. And based on a conversation, we'll know what the next step is because there were some things agreed upon and there were some things said that we know that now they're interested in sitting a presentation, they're interested in trying the product. And you'll notice that maybe some of you here on the call, you've noticed when you've done a call with me, I always try to get a very clear next step. I will ask the person if they want, are they ready to get on the product or are they ready to enroll? And once I figured this out, then I will turn the call over to you and says, well, John, Mary, you know what? I'm going to turn the call over to you. John is ready to get started once you walk him through the packages, or John wants to try the product for 90 days once you get him set up on the Salgivity, whatever the situation is. And there's a clear ending to the conversation. It's not vague unless sometimes we have no choice. We just have to kind of book the next call because we need more information. But it has to be a clear next step. And once you're done, when the call has been passed over to you, make sure you thank the mentor for their time and again, have a clear next step for your prospect, right? And also thank your prospect for being there, but make sure that when the mentor has done the call, the leader has done the call, don't just hang up. Right? That's another thing is I always make sure that I turn the call, and I'm very clear. I'm going to turn the call over to you, Mary, for you to, give a clear direction as far as when the next call will be or whatever the next step is. Okay? So don't just kind of hang up and run away because you, again, may miss an opportunity to move forward.
And if I can make a suggestion on that, because we've done many three-way calls with people, if the next step is they've made a decision to get started in the business, and then we pass the call over to the associate, and we move on to the next thing. What you want to make sure is you're not getting back into answering any questions. This is critical, you guys. So take this one serious. When the leader gets off the phone, you say, John, I've got the application in front of me. Let's get you started and get the information. Or, it's critical to get them to give you the information right then and there. Because I've had great conversations, and I get off the phone and then talk to the associate after, and they said they decided they don't want to do the business. And I said, really? I said, so what happened after the conversation? Well, they asked me a bunch of questions. And so they didn't right away get into, okay, let's get you started, John. Okay, so take this to heart because we want to see all of you get some serious results in your business. Because these questions will all be answered when they're associates, when they start going into the training platform. Okay, so the conclusion, this is something to have on your desk, and it keeps a reminder for yourself. You know, take a picture of it, write it down, whatever you need to do. But the conclusion is your role is to edify the mentor leader, and then edify the prospect, and then have the mentor say hello to the prospect, and then you just stay quiet. And I highly recommend to take notes. Learn what's going on in the conversation. That's how you become better, and at the same time, you'll eventually be that third-party call for somebody else. So to end the call with your prospect with clear next steps. Okay, we need clear next steps so that you can move forward with your person. And of course, the role of the mentor leader is to edify you back, to bring credibility, share the vision of the company, and C is to build relationships with your prospect, get them to see the bigger picture, and to move the prospects to the next step of the desired outcome if possible. Okay?
So as we come to a conclusion for this call, very important here is practice, practice, practice. Practice third-party credibility invitation with your upline, maybe someone you're downline, maybe that you're close to, that your friends, whatever the situation is, and practice with partners and doing the introduction so you're comfortable and it flows nicely. This is really, really, really important. But above all, folks, the fortune is in the follow-up. Never quit, folks. You know that older guy with the mustache and on the bottom portion where, one more hit or two more hit, boom, you would have hit the diamonds, right? Tammy and I have seen that in our career in network marketing so often, it makes me even uncomfortable to say it. It's unbelievable how many associates have so much volume underneath them, but they went away years ago and they have absolutely no clue. So the fact here, folks, is just by staying in the game over time, things will happen, right? It's absolutely wonderful. So folks, we want to thank you for attending this Go for Diamond call this evening. I hope that you got some insight from it. Again, it will be posted on the Go for Diamond call, on the Active Team website underneath the video section under Go for Diamond call. So folks, have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll look forward to connect with you on the next call. And the next call, we're going to be talking about, I believe, on a one-on-one presentation. So how to do the effective one-on-one presentation. You do not want to miss that one. Okay, have yourself a wonderful evening and a great week. Bye for now.